Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another episode on Transform. We are so excited and so honored that you are here. Today, we are chatting part 2, continuing our friendships conversation. You guys sent in the best questions revolving friendships, relationships, all around these girlies in your life. And we're so excited to answer some of them from the best of our hearts because Sam and I obviously prioritize friendships to the max. And if you guys didn't get to listen to part 1, I highly recommend listening to that one before this or after. But let's dive right into the question, Sam.
Let's do it.
All right. The first question is how to not have too big of expectations for your friends.
My gut punch on this one is the bigger your expectations are, the more room people have to disappoint you. And I think in life in general, I definitely can put people on a pedestal. And I actually do it with my dad all the time. I do it with Andrew all the time. I put people on a pedestal because I have really high expectations for them because I know how amazing they are. And what actually happens when you put someone on a pedestal is that there's more room to fall when they're human. And with friendships, when I go about them with these really big expectations, I'm basically just like setting an unrealistic expectation and standard for the way I think they need to show up for me versus just allowing them to be them and show up exactly how they are meant to. And I think that this comes up a lot during like big milestones, right? Where like you want to either be really supported if it's a hard moment or really celebrated if it's a beautiful moment. And if you're feeling that you have a lot of expectations for how people should show up, let's talk about that. What people quote unquote should be doing is never the actuality of the reality of the situation. Anytime you're imposing a should on someone, that's not fair to them. That's really not fair to them. So take a step back and understand that anything can be everything. So don't allow for your projected expectation to ruin what someone is actually capable of providing you as a friend, because them doing a little is still them maybe doing a lot for them based on where they're at.
I love this and so agree because I think that when I look at my relationships and my friendships, when I have expectations, I absolutely am let down, especially if I haven't communicated any of them as well, or I'm expecting them to meet my needs and read my mind without them even understanding what I need. On the communication aspect, I think inviting people in and asking them how they would like you to show up for them is so helpful to have expectations that you can actually meet. So say that you're speaking to a friend and she mentions that she would love more quality time from you. If she didn't mention that, maybe you would have no idea, or maybe you wouldn't have been able to communicate that that's not maybe your strong suit, but you would love to lean into that because she's a friend that means something to you. I also think that there's seasons for different types of expectations. I remember I had one friend who went through a breakup and I was also going through something. And I remember she had a really hard conversation with me and gave me feedback of, you really weren't there for me when I was going through that breakup. And it was such a defining moment of, it wasn't that she had expectations, but I did let her down. And for me to receive that as not that she had too high of expectations for me or needs that I couldn't met. She just, as a friend, and she knew who I was, felt like that's what we both deserve. And I was really grateful for her putting me to that level and actually communicating that to me. And it allowed me to not look at them as these crazy expectations, but just as a friend I would want to be, because I've shown that to her, want to show up. So you almost give everyone the expectations that you want to show up as because you just step into that friend as you. So in the end, I feel like I'm grateful for the friends that do communicate to me their expectations, and I'm putting these in quotes because I don't even consider them expectations. I just consider them as who I am and how they would want me to show up as, because I can and I have shown them that.
Yeah, I think, Sam, you also do such a good job of kind of like the opposite of the example you just gave. When you're in that moment of darkness, especially in our friendship, I love when you take the initiative and you'll send me a note or you'll call me and you'll say, hey, I want you to know that today is a hard day for me. And I'm feeling X, Y, and Z for these reasons. And I'm not telling you so that you can come fix it, but I'm just telling you so that you know where I'm coming from in my own life today. And what you've also taught me that I love, and I feel like I've done so well now, and that people around me have also witnessed and done for me, is I'll then ask you, how can I support you in this? How can I be the best friend to you today? What can I do to help in any way? And I think what this allows is real transparency around what I was saying earlier, how these big milestones happen in our lives, whether they're really sad or really happy. And we do, by nature of having friends, have these quote unquote expectations for people to show up for us in ways that either help us in our valleys or celebrate with us on those hills. I think of a very specific example that happened at the end of last year when I went to visit Zadie, my grandfather, for the last time. And my grandparents were like a bonus set of parents for me. We were very close. And I went to see Zadie, which is also Hebrew for grandfather. People always think it's Zadie. Like,
yeah, I do.
She's like, I'm calling it Zadie, which is hilarious. Zadie was 90 years old, and he just had like a very accelerated deterioration at the end of his life. And I live in Austin. He lived in Dallas. And right before Andrew and I left to go on a holiday trip with his family, I knew I needed to see Zadie before I left because I could just feel his state. So I drove to Dallas with Andrew, and I spent a lot of quality time with Zadie. And I knew when I was leaving that something was definitely, approaching. I didn't know when, but I knew that he was almost at, let's say, death's door. And when I left, I remembered being on that road trip home to Austin, and I sent my closest friends a text, and I said, hey, I'm just sharing because this matters and it's on my heart. I'm leaving Dallas, and I think I might be seeing Zadie for the last time, and I love him so much, and I just know that like when this inevitably does happen, it's going to be really hard for me, and I just want to bring you in to what I'm going through to help stand by me through this. And I had lost my mom 2 years before. And I think if that taught me anything, it was you ask for help and you let your people in. And that's not weakness. That's actually strength. So if you feel like you're going through something and you have expectations for your friends, communicate those. Let them in and watch how they get to show up for you. Mm. Our next question. What if you feel like you've grown past a friendship?
Right away, my gut punch is celebrate that, which sounds crazy. But I definitely feel like even in our late 20s and early 30s, which we've been speaking to a lot, is we are evolving and growing so much. And if you're listening to this podcast, you are evolving and growing so much. You are showing up, you are doing the work, you are saying yes to yourself, which should be so celebrated. And I want you to feel that. That is not the lightest work, but it is the most rewarding. With that growth, the only way to grow is to grow out of things, to evolve in certain relationships you do feel like you have and let go of the ones that aren't serving you anymore. And to be honest, it's the best thing that you could do for yourself and also the best thing you could do for that person. Holding on to a relationship because you have this should or expectation that that's the way it should be in this world is only creating space in your body that's taking away from someone else coming in and changing your life. I love the analogy or thinking about it this way. If you were a house and people were renting space in your house and you only allowed a certain amount of rooms to take up like the most space, I'm talking about like they got a bedroom and she is a big bedroom and she's taking up all the space. If you only had a certain amount of rooms, who should be renting from you? Who should be living in that house? And allow the ones that are a question mark, allow them to be that question mark. Allow the ones that feel like they are so different now than what they were. Celebrate how much they were amazing in that season and they were so for that season. And then allow them to also leave the rented house. Allow them to also go blossom and find their people. And you know what's so wild about this is I have done this, and let me say, it is not the easy work. You also don't have to communicate it directly to that friend of like, you ain't rented here anymore, see you later. But through those actions, I think you guys can just naturally feel that happening. And the more that you just surrender to, this is what I'm feeling right now. I have a certain friendship in my life. She was one of my best friends in high school, and her name's Quincy. And we always had the foundation of like, we'll be best friends for life in whatever the way that this looks. And through when she went to college, I visited her all the time. You know, I was living in Los Angeles. We really kept that friendship. As time went on, she got married, and I feel like our worlds just were so separate and so different. Like our lives were very different. She's a police officer, badass, and then I'm over here in LA trying to, you know, start a wellness app. And I feel like our journeys were so different, but there was always like the love and support no matter what. What is so beautiful is I kind of let that friendship just be and let that season of, wow, we're not as close anymore, but I would truly, if she called me tomorrow, I'd pick it up and do anything for her. But not forcing that I needed to continue to see her or continue to lean into this relationship like I did. And now I'm 31. She just had her 32nd birthday. And her and I, at the same time, decided to reach out to each other. Like it was serendipity, like crazy energy. And I saw her for her birthday. And the season of life that she is going through was so beautifully similar to the seasons of life that I'm going through. And we had the most magic conversation. And it felt like we were coming back at the exact time we needed to. But if I didn't let Quincy go and do her whole life and do her thing, I don't think we would have came back at this same moment and had these conversations and had these experiences to meet each other in this way. So I think looking at growth is never a bad thing, or growing away from relationships, and allowing these relationships to possibly come back later on in your life and surrendering to letting new ones come in. It's such an evolution of, I think, how we're supposed to do life. It just isn't normalized.
I agree. I think even the way this question was phrased of you've grown past, like that growth is so exciting, guys. That is so exciting. And to Sam's point, needs to be celebrated. And I think too much in life, we look at friendships like black and white. We're either best friends or we don't know each other. We're either in each other's lives or we're not. And allow this gray area to be back in. Please allow these growing past this friendship to not be a goodbye, but truly an opportunity that you can reconnect at a later date. And it doesn't need to be this negative experience of confrontation and you do this and I did that and you're not going to as many fitness classes a week as me, so we can't be friends. Like there's nothing that's needed there. It can just truly, you can spread apart, but you know what you can also do? You can come back together. And Sam's example with her high school friends, an example of how life just happens. And then you're back next to someone who you knew when you were 14 years old and you have a whole new thing in common with them because both of your lives were happening far apart, but in parallel path, and brought you right back to where you needed when you needed each other. So stop thinking of things so black and white. Really allow things to be more fluid, and also celebrate the fact that you're growing beyond your peers. I think when you choose to do the work, it is lonely, but I also think it's really important, and it's a path that not many people are always saying yes to. So when you say yes to self, you're also saying no to a lot of things you once knew, and change and really shedding those layers are just something that is a part of your journey. But when you are shedding those layers, know that that is you going towards the best version of you. And again, that is so exciting and so beautiful, and we're so proud of you. And every time that happens to Sam and I, it's interesting because there is a moment of grief. And I've had this recently with some friendships that I've recently made where there was like a pretty severe period of sadness where I felt like the friendships weren't as strong as I maybe had expectations for them to be or historically had been. But then I got real and I understood it wasn't this black and white thing of if we're not best friends, we're nothing. Like, no, we can actually send each other love and hold each other right where we need to be at this season of life. And if we come back together, we do. And we can have a bond that's stronger than ever. And if we don't, you know what? It's still so kosher and so from a place of love.
I want to say to that black and white thinking, Sam knows this. I think I was in a black and white thinking for quite some time in a lot of areas in my life. And I think when I reflect back of why I did that, it was such a safety net for me, because between black and white is change. It means you're questioning things. It means you're curious about what you once thought, and now you're changing your mind, or now you're evolving. And I think if you're having these black and white moments of how it should be, it only can be black or it only can be white, I would allow yourself to kind of question that. Allow yourself to say, is it okay that I actually am growing out of this friendship? And pay attention to who you ask too. Because if you're asking that friend of, hey, I'm, some other friend, you're asking, hey, I think I'm growing out of the friendship with, the other girl in our group, and say she's a black and white thinker too, make sure you check in with who you're communicating with this. Are they also going through this evolution and expansion of your mind? And trust that being curious, questioning this black and white thinking is actually the best thing you could do to continue to meet yourself, to continue to evolve, to continue to grow. Next question is how to navigate lingering resentment from previous issues.
These questions are deep. We're going there today.
Yes.
I feel like if you've got some tea in your friend group, this is the episode for you. No, I love it because we all have this in common. And honestly, every time I do a Q&A on my Instagram stories, the amount that I get about friendships, this is when I think of like my real passion and purpose in this life, it is human connection. And friendships is that to me. And when I think of resentment in those friendships, resentment is the straw that breaks the camel's back. Resentment is the little rock that you always keep in your pocket that never allows you to be fully there with an open heart, coming forward with love. Resentment is literally like a little, think of you're making your friend a drink or something, but you're like putting like one drop of toxic something in the drink. Even though the whole drink is so tasty, you're still adding one drop of something that needs to be discussed. And I think something that Sam and I have mastered is that we handle anything that could lead to resentment. Like we've never even gotten to resentment because we communicate before it can even get there. And that's the beautiful thing about communication. Resentment actually doesn't need to exist if your communication skills are honestly brave enough, but also in a safe enough place. But I'll also say that not all of my friendships are safe enough, like Sam and I, to really come forward with my feelings. And I have witnessed little pieces of resentment that build up and build and build and build, and brick by brick, it is the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I'm sad for that. I really am, because I know I played a role in something that could have had a conversation to remove a lot of the little things that built up to create a really big thing. And to me, I think resentment actually stems from patterns. I think it comes from you starting to notice these little things that someone does that continue and continue and continue, and it becomes a pattern where it actually becomes their identity to you in this life. And that becomes enough for you to totally be turned off by a person. And for every one bad thing, there's usually 99 good things. But when the one bad thing keeps happening and happening and happening, it overshadows the beauty of that person and that friendship. So I would say if you're at the point with a friend where there is tangible resentment, where you feel like you're putting that little drop of toxicity into that drink, or you have that little rock in your pocket at all times, try in your best power to create a safe enough environment to have the conversation. And I know we're going to get to a different question that has to do with how to have the hard conversations. But my goal for you with this question is, with most of your friendships, try to not let resentment actually exist by making sure that you're addressing something before the resentment can even start becoming what it is.
I absolutely agree to all this. And also, what came to mind is when I think about my friendships that I'm going to communicate with and say something has been lingering, I go into those conversations knowing that they were coming from a loving place. Like, even if it was something that they did that really hurt me, I choose love over hate, or I choose love that it was like very personal to me. I'd rather go into that conversation with that base and let them speak and share with me, because half of the time, you guys, if something happened, a lot of it has to do with the person and what they're going through in their life, but allowing to not accuse them, but instead share that your feelings were hurt and have this communication that Sam is speaking to, going into it with love. I think you've already won that conversation, and that friendship will be absolutely okay. I even use a tool where, I guess this goes actually into the next question, so I'll wait for my tool. I was going to use my visualization.
Okay, perfect. I'll ask it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, our next question, which goes hand in hand so perfectly. How do you give constructive feedback or disagree without hurting your friends' feelings?
So right away, what comes into my mind is when I have to have hard conversations with friends, which, you guys, that is life. That is how we grow. That is how we level up with our friends. That is how we hold each other accountable. Like, having hard conversations is not a bad thing. And this is actually something Sam has taught me so beautifully in life. When we are in business together and we're having to talk about very taboo things, you imagine that we have mastered how to have hard conversations, and not even look at them as hard, like look at them as such a gift that we get to level up in this way. So I think it's perspective going into this feedback conversation, or this feeling of giving constructive feedback. I, first and foremost, anytime I'm going to do this with a friend, I actually visualize it before I go and meet the friend. So I'll see our highest selves come together. I'll literally see the version that we both know are only coming from love, don't take anything personal, truly see each other in such a light. And I'll see us meeting, having the full conversation, walking through exactly how I'd want it to go, ending the conversation, and then embodying how that feels. And what happens is when you walk in to give this feedback to your friend that you're having an issue with, you already know it is done. You already know that the deed is done, and you have given your love, light, and so has she. And walking in with that embodiment, I swear the conversations always go so much better, because you show up different. You show up less defensive. You show up coming from love. You show up excited that you guys are leveling up. This means that your friendship is there for a purpose, to take you to another level. Even in all types of relationships, people should be challenging you. People should be hitting a note where you have to look at yourself and saying, why did that hit me? Why did that hurt me? And allowing it not to be a bad thing, but instead inviting it, ooh, it's time for me to grow. It's time for me to step into this layer with this person that I feel safe with. So I actually, again, am so excited for you to have these conversations, because it's only going to bring you closer to yourself, closer to that friend. When I have these conversations with Sam, for example, or any other friends, I always feel closer after I leave. I'm always so grateful that we actually got to come from a place of love and level up together.
I agree. And I'm so grateful for every opportunity that you and I have actually had to have those types of conversations. I think another aspect that I love to visualize and love to keep really top of mind when I go to sit down to have these conversations is that we're actually on the same team. I think in life, when you have a quote unquote disagreement, or you need to have a hard conversation, you try to think of someone as like being on the opposite team. They're trying to score a goal on you, and then you're going against them. Take a step back and remind yourself, and even this person, if you want to say it out loud, that you're actually on the same team, and talk to each other as teammates. I grew up doing team sports. It was my favorite thing. I love being on a team, and I am a very competitive person. But when I'm on a team with someone, I want them to do their best job so that our team wins. And when you come into a conversation and you're not on the same team, and you're automatically on defense, that means they're automatically on offense. And if they're automatically on defense, that means you're automatically on offense. That's not a healthy foundation to have a healthy conversation. So first and foremost, be on that same team. And then from there, I want you to be careful how you ask questions. I want you to be very mindful of the ways in which that you have the questions to which you need the answers. For example, if I were to ask Sam something that started with why did you say this to me? Why did you say that?
I'm scared.
Why did you do this to me?
I'm scared.
Like, it's scary. Like, I've now put her in a corner. I am fully on offense. And guess what? Now she's on defense. And I know for me, when I'm on defense, I'm like 2 thumbs up. Like, I'm like, pow, pow, pow. Like, I'm going to get you back even harder than you're getting me right now, because that's where my competitive side comes in, right? It's not healthy. So instead of asking why, ask, what did you mean when you used these words? Or what was going on for this to happen? Or how did we get to this point where this was the type of conversation we were having? Or how did this happen in our friendship? When you ask why, you're interrogating someone. When you ask what or how, you're learning. You're learning alongside them, and it's not this I'm right, you're wrong. It's we're on the same team, and we get to refine each other to be the best team possible. And that's where a healthy conversation comes about. I think within friendships, especially when they start to go south, it really becomes this like highly sensitive thing. We're all emotional human beings. Every human is emotional, no matter what type of emotion you feel. I feel a lot of sadness. I think some people feel a lot of anger. When our emotions are hypersensitive and then people are using aggravated language and putting you in a corner where you feel like you need to defend yourself or offend them for being too defensive, it's just never gonna fly. It's not good, guys. So really try to visualize you showing up as your highest self, as Sam mentioned, embodying that conversation already going so well, understanding that you are on the same team, and then also be so mindful of the way that you speak. Our words speak volumes. The words that we choose, oh my goodness, they have such power. And what I love about the words that we get to choose is that we have the choice. So make sure that you are checking in before you are entering a conversation that could either be very healthy or very unhealthy.
And remember, this is a practice. You know, maybe you didn't ever grow up stirring the pot or having uncomfortable conversations. Remember, it's a practice. So even showing up to these conversations with friends and saying, I'm a little nervous. I'm coming from love. I want to say that off the bat, but I really want to talk about this moment, and not feeling like you have to be perfect on your delivery. You can always get better, but going in with these, you know, expectations of saying to your friend, like, hey, I really don't do this a lot, but I love you this much that I really would love to have this conversation and give you some feedback of places that I'm feeling a little hurt in.
That's such a good point that I have to hit, because me personally, if I'm getting feedback and it's not intentional feedback, like if I don't know that I'm about to be receiving feedback, I auto go into defense mode. That's something I know about myself. And that stems back to like living in my childhood house growing up. Like if my dad were to just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, give me feedback on what I did wrong, it was excuse, and zero ownership and zero accountability. So make sure if you are having this conversation that it is delivered with so much love, that you are being very intentional and saying like, hey, like you're not sending, we've all received that cryptic text, hey, can we talk?
Yes.
When I get that text, I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on? Like, I'm calling you right now because I can't. So make sure that you're giving people the full story ahead of time. Hey, I'd love to chat about some things that have been on my heart and give you the opportunity to share what's on yours as well. I'm so here to do it in person, over FaceTime, whatever feels so good for you, so that we both feel so comfortable to do this from a place of love. And even reminding them that, yeah, this is a little bit uncomfortable because it is a hard thing to do, but it's also such proof that you care. Mm-hmm. It really is like that perfect proof that you give a shit. You really care and you want to rebuild and repair.
Next question is, how do you not compare how much love you give versus receive?
My immediate gut punch on this is friendship's not a scoreboard. Friendship's not a tick for tack. Friendship's not a let me see how they show up so I can dictate how I want to show up. When you are leaning in authentically as you will show up exactly how you should, and you will receive exactly how you should. And I think within this friendship series, what you've realized is Sam and I are actually very different. Like, she is really big on words of affirmation, and I'm really big on things like gifts. And I do think that our love languages ebb and flow based on where we're at in life. But I stayed true to what feels aligned to me authentically. And if I feel like I'm not receiving as much as I'm giving, I'm not going to give less, because then I'm not showing up authentically as myself. You need to be you. And I really think that if you're playing this game, it almost reminds me of dating. So much of this friendship chat reminds me of dating. But remember in the early days when you're like talking to a new person, they're like, they texted me first, so now I'm going to text them first. But then next time they have to text me first. Like, that is not maturity. That is not reality. And that's like fucked up bullshit game. Sorry, it is.
Preach, baby, preach.
And if you're playing that with friendships, like, they asked me to hang out last time, so I'm going to ask them to hang out this time. And then it's their turn next time. Like, no. Take a big step back, babe, because that's not healthy. And for you to ever not give your full heart based on what you think you're not receiving, that to me just does you and your beautiful soul and love a disservice. Always be you. Don't allow the messed up shit in this world to take away from all the goodness that is you.
Honestly, I just have to piggyback this so hard, because the answer that is coming so true to my heart is to just focus on being you. Like, focusing on who's giving more, who's receiving more, is taking you out of the present moment of just receiving and just giving. So focus on being your best self. Focus on, like Sam said, all of your strengths. If you love to give gifts, give some freaking gifts, and don't look back that you need it in return. Like, because if you're giving from that place that you are expecting to receive something as well, that again is putting those expectations on someone that they didn't ask for. They didn't ask for you to send them gifts. You did that, and they feel so loved and so grateful, but you pray that they would do that out of the kindness of their need and their want. And the more that we put expectations on them of, I didn't get a gift in return, or I didn't get X, Y, and Z, it's taking away from the beauty of you just showing up from so much love and being so who you are.
Our last question for our friendships episode. How are we both growing to become better friends? Oh,
I love this question. Such a beautiful ending, because we are both still growing into becoming better. Always, 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 and forever. I don't think that ends. And as we evolve and change in life, I see myself growing in different ways. I think my area that pops up right away that I continue to grow in is, one, knowing the relationships in my life, I trust them with everything. Like, I am putting that trust of those relationships. I'm not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I am both feet in. And until that needs to change, that will change. But allowing myself to fully be in these friendships. And the reason I think that reigns so big for me is because I don't think I always have been like that. I think I have been the 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because I am a little nervous to get hurt, or I was navigating the friendships from a scarce place. I am in such friendships where I am so devoted to the people in my life, and so want to be. Like, it's an area that I feel like I can lean into to my best ability, but I want to be so 2 feet in. So I think that immediately came to mind. And then number 2, which I will forever grow in, is communication. I still feel like that is an area that I love growing into. If there's something that comes to mind and I feel like it's on my heart, with my safe relationships, I actually love having that conversation with them. I love communicating with them. I feel so grateful that I am in a place where I have relationships that I can continue to grow my communication. Because you guys, when I look back at my life and when I look at being 31 now, The only way I've gotten and grown in my relationships is through my communication, is through having these hard conversations. Is even I had a conversation the other day where I literally said to a friend, I'm feeling a little scared right now to share this with you. And me even saying that, and I've said it 40 times to a friend, I was like, this is me continuing to grow in this area. This still is an area that feels a little uncomfortable, but that is why I am meant to still grow in it. And that is why I'm so called to these conversations and not running from them. And that is my growth.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I really am. I love you.
Love you.
I love you. I'm thinking of this question for me, and I did get some feedback from someone I care so deeply about, and what was clear was that she wanted more of my time. And this conversation was led with so much love, and I'm so grateful that my friendship with this person has created the amount of space, safe space for us to be able to really share how we're feeling. And it left me thinking for a while, honestly, like months on end after, of, gosh, she wants more of my time. And honestly, like, my time right now is a limited resource that I only have so much of. And this is a season that I've said yes to for other ways outside of friendship that really do require a lot of my time in the best way, of what I have intentionally said yes to. Being an entrepreneur, running, Sam and I have like 5 businesses, guys. Like, it is insane. People ask us how we do it, and we're like, because there's other sacrifices that we make. And that is something that I own. And that is something that I am proud to make the sacrifice of, knowing how much I do care about friendships. And after receiving this feedback, it left me with this thought, and it's been coming up a lot in my morning routine, of, if I can't give her time, what else can I give her? And quality time is a huge love language of mine. It really is. But recently in friendships, the way that I give love is not always quality time. It's gifts. It's words of affirmation. It's making sure that they feel so seen and loved and supported by me, knowing that I'm probably not the one that's able to walk with them every day or take 30 minutes to hear everything about life every day. Those check-ins right now just aren't necessarily a part of what I'm able to afford to do with the limited resource for me that is time. So what are the other ways that I can show up to make sure she's always feeling my love? And there's also been this acceptance of, I think with self, I always want to make sure I'm doing everything to the very best of my capability. And as someone who has been very social for my entire life, just innately based on who I was brought into this world to be, which has a lot to do with my human design, as Sam has shared, it's really helpful to look into your human design. And mine, I literally am like the energizer of a group. I'm a connector. I am like a growth mentor for people. I know that the way that I'm showing up right now is still the best of my ability. And I've also released the expectations that people have on me. So for example, this conversation that I had with my friend was held with so much love. But what happens next is not just about me. What happens next is her also taking me off the pedestal to which she put me on. I am a human being, and I'm not perfect, and I can't be an A+++ friend to you all the time. But what I do promise is that I'm always doing my best. I'm always going to do my best. And my positive intent is always there. And if someone is in my life and they're not assuming positive intent from where my actions are coming from, then I think that that is a welcome area of, okay, let's linger into this gray space for a little bit. Because during this season where my time can't all be spent on friendships, I need some room for understanding. And I've been met with so much love in that. And I've been met with so much understanding in that. And if I'm not, I'm so excited to get back to those friendships when maybe my priorities do look a little different and my time does look a little different, because life changes, our seasons change, and those seasons call for different friends at different times. So I am grateful to have grown in that way, and to have also had a real conversation with self of stop being perfect. Allow yourself to not always be the number one best friend for everyone. I still get to show up in a way that is me doing my best. And the people who see me for what I'm capable of feel that and know that. And that feels really good right now.
I love that so much. I'm so proud of you. I really am. And I feel like that is such a beautiful reminder that we can all take in, is no one should be expected to be perfect. And what an energy that even holds perfection. Like that literally, like, on my heart is heavy, because we are so human. We are so not meant to be these perfect people. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that was such a beautiful reminder for myself as well.
I love you.
Love you.
I love chatting friendships with my best friend. This is so fun. If y'all do have any other questions for us, definitely comment. If you're listening on Spotify, feel free to DM us or Transform at any point. And we're just so grateful to have friends like you listening in every week.
Thanks, guys, so much. We love you. We love you. We love you.